Guys, it's Sarah, and I am here with the books that I read in the month of March. Now, I read a lot of books in March. I want to say I read 14, 13 or 14, something like that. So I have a lot to go through today. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm stamping out my numbers on my stamped open books that I've been doing every month. If you haven't been following along with this album, I will leave my playlist link down below to see the other installments of it. But basically, this year I'm recording every single book that I read throughout the year of 2019. And I have kind of a specific order that I'm doing things in, and I'm doing them the same way throughout the year. So if you want to see more about that, I talk about it more in my first video. But I stamped all of my books for the numbers, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my books on my cards here and then put the stamped book by each one. So I'm going in order of how I read them, and that's how I'm keeping track of everything this year. So I'm going to go ahead and do all these. I'm not going to show all of them because I will go through the books as I am embellishing the journaling cards that go with them, but I did pick all of the cards here. So I do that off camera because it takes me a while to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. Now for this one here, I wanted to cut out this little label that says true story on it. I'm going to use that on the embellishment card there. So I'm just going to cut that out first and then put my picture down on the card. And of course, I put adhesive down first because I forgot that I wanted to cut that out. But I could just easily rub it off with my fingers. And so I'm going to save that to put with that one. And then I'll finish up the rest here. Now I'm just going to go in order, and I'm going to stamp my 5 empty stars here. And that is from a book stamp set that I have, and I again showed that in my first video about the supplies I'm using, and I filled in the star rating that I gave it, and that is one that I gave 4 stars. This book is called Wish, and it is by Barbara Downey, I believe. Barbara something. I can't remember her last name. I'm sorry. But this is a middle grade book. So this month had a lot of middle grade in it. So I will be talking about a lot of books that are geared for younger kids because I had to read a lot for a project I was doing in my master's degree class. So I took a books for children class, and so that required a lot of younger reading, but I wanted to include it because some of these books were over 200 pages. So, that's no small feat regardless. And so this one is about a young girl, and she finds herself moving in with some family members that she wasn't really fully aware of because she is not being taken care of by her mother. So she goes to live with her aunt and her uncle in a completely new place, new town. Doesn't know anybody, and she, struggles to kind of fit in, and you watch her go throughout this process. She also ends up finding a stray dog and forms this really great bond with him. So that's kind of what the story is surrounding, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a great book for kids, especially kids who either have dogs or like dogs a lot. I think they would really enjoy that story. So that was the first one. The next one is The Tale of Despereaux, and this is by Kate DiCamillo. This is kind of a classic children's book. It's been around for a while, but I had never read it. And this one follows a mouse named Despereaux, and it's a fantasy world where mice and humans can interact and they can have conversations. And for a really long time, there has been a kind of a war between the humans and the mice, and there's a very specific reason why, but they're not really, they're supposed to be enemies. And Despereaux breaks the law by falling in love with a human girl. He actually falls in love with a princess, and he actually gets jailed for that because that's against the law. And so I thought it was cute. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. I listened to this on audiobook, and I really enjoyed the audiobook version of it. And I thought it was cute. So I gave that one 3 stars there. And then the next one is Anna and Elsa, and this is called All Hail the Queen. It's the first book in a little series of Frozen stories that come after the events of the movie. And this is one that actually Layla read out loud to me, but we did read it together, so I counted it, and I did use it for my class project as well. And it was really cute. It was Anna and Elsa and them, adjusting to being rulers of the kingdom, basically. And Layla absolutely loved it. So that's an indication that it's a good children's book, right? She loves the Frozen franchise, so that was cute. And I did end up giving this one 4 stars. It was entertaining. It was all the characters that, everybody knows and loves and all that. So I thought it was, a cute little chapter book that is giving the kids, a little bit more of that world and more of those characters. So I gave it 4 stars. And then I read The Huntress by Kate Quinn. Now, this is an adult book. It's a historical fiction, and it follows a woman who was involved with the Germans in World War II, and she was awful. She hunted people, she lured people, and then she killed people, all for the Nazi regime. And she went kind of underground after the war was over. And she, there are people who know about her and know what she has done, and they are trying to hunt her down, basically. So to make her pay for her crimes, because she pretty much got away with murder. And it follows where she is and what she's doing. And it also follows other people who are involved some way, somehow. And so it basically follows multiple perspectives, but all trying to find this woman. So it was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It kept me guessing, and I liked the different perspectives and the different stories that were being told throughout the book. It's not just about her, it's about these other characters as well. And I really liked it a lot, and I gave it 5 stars. And that was my first book by Kate Quinn, and I definitely plan to read some more by her now. I really enjoyed that one. And then I read House on Fire by Bonnie Kistler, and this is a domestic book, and it's a drama, and it follows a family who have pretty much the unthinkable happen to them. They are a blended family, so the wife's daughter was killed, and the fault of the accident is put on the shoulder of the man's son. So basically the daughter dies and it's the son's fault, and it's a blended family. So obviously that's going to take a big strain on your marriage, right? And they really try to make things work and try to get past things and try to understand exactly what happened. And but obviously there's so much trust that has been lost. So it was a good story. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It did take kind of a strange turn in the middle of the story, which, just kind of threw me off a little bit. But for the most part, I really did enjoy it while I was reading it. So I did give it 4 stars, and just can't imagine ever, being in a situation like that. Okay, and then the next one I read is back to middle grade. So I read Nightmares by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. And this one follows a family, and the mother has passed away. The father has recently remarried, which is really hard on the kids, and there's 2 boys. And our main character is the older son, and they move into the stepmother's house, which is kind of a creepy house. And the older son just really ends up experiencing some really creepy things in this house, and he's convinced that the house could possibly be haunted and that there are witches who are trying to eat his little brother. But he can't prove it because they only come out at certain times and not everybody can see them. So he's trying to decide, am I crazy or am I dreaming this or what's happening? He doesn't know what's real and what's not. And turns out he was not dreaming it. They actually are real. And so you see him trying to navigate this and try to figure out why it's happening, and how his mother is involved in this and all that. So it was really good. It was cute. I really like the audiobook because Jason Segel narrates it, and he is a great actor. So I love that he was the one who narrated it. So I enjoyed that one, and I gave that one 4 stars. And I'm going to do my journaling about that. And then for this one, I put brother and father up there in the corner there because, those are kind of the characters that we're really focused on in here. So that meant a lot to our main character. So I went ahead and used some of those up because, we don't have any brothers in our family. We do have a father, but no brothers. So took the advantage of that right there. All right, so that is in. And then the next one, oh my goodness, is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. And this is one of my favorite books of the year still so far this year. And this one is very much compared to Harry Potter, which I completely agree. It definitely has Harry Potter vibes because it follows a young girl who is thrown into this world that she never knew existed. And she pretty much thought she was cursed and that she was going to die on her 11th birthday, which is what the curse says in her type of situation. But she was actually rescued by a man who she's never met, and he comes and he takes her away to this place called Nevermore, and she did not know that this was a place that ever existed. And she becomes his candidate to try out to go into this magical school, basically, or like an academy. Now, the catch is every candidate has to have some sort of power or some sort of niche or like a gift that they can use that will be useful to the world, basically, to the citizens in the world. And she doesn't have anything. Or she's convinced she doesn't have anything. So she doesn't know how she's going to get into the school. And, the guy who rescued her is telling her, everything's fine, you'll be great. And she's like, but I don't have anything. So it was so good. It was so magical. And I definitely got the Harry Potter vibes reading it because you're learning about this whole new place and just the things that are happening were definitely reminded me of Harry Potter, but it wasn't trying to be Harry Potter either. So that I appreciated for sure. And I loved it. I loved every word of this book. And it's the first book in a new series. So I will definitely read the entire thing. I've read the first two now. And yeah, I love it so much. It's very, very entertaining and keeps you reading. And, it is a middle grade, so it goes really quickly anyway. But man, it was so good. I absolutely adored it. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series. This will be one that, I'll be like pre-ordering all the books and all that. So if you like Harry Potter, I definitely would recommend Nevermore by Jessica Townsend for sure. Okay, and the next one is Who Was Abraham Lincoln? And I don't remember who wrote this one. Yeah, I don't remember. It's a cute little book series, though, that follows a lot of historical either people or events. And my daughter had this one on her shelf, so I picked it up for my class because I needed a nonfiction. So this was an easy one for me to go ahead and pick up. And it was cute. I read it in one sitting. It was pretty short, so I was able to get through it pretty quickly. But definitely a lot about him before his presidency, which was very interesting, because I think a lot of his documentation is after he was president and what he did as president, but there wasn't a whole lot about his childhood or how he, grew in politics and what happened to get him to where he was. You mostly hear about what he did while he was president. And I actually learned a couple things, which I thought was interesting. So, yeah, it was good. And I gave this one, did I give it 4 stars? Yeah, 4 stars. Like, it didn't blow my mind or anything, obviously, but I think if kids are going to be reading nonfiction, I think this is a really great series to get into because it gives a lot of historical information. There's a lot of drawings in it as well. And it's interesting. So, yeah, that's a good one. And I like Abraham Lincoln, and my daughter has it because he is her favorite president. She loves learning about him in school and stuff. So, all right, so there's that one. And then more middle grade here. So this is The War That Saved My Life, and this is by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. And this is a pretty popular book, but I've never read it. This one follows a family in London during World War II. And during that time, and this was a real thing actually, the government took children out of their homes in London and move them to live with families in the English countryside to get them away from the danger of dropping, of bombs being dropped on a heavily populated area. So basically, for their safety, they were moved away from their families and forced to live with new families and new people who would take them in to keep them safe. And that was a real thing. And I had never known that before. I did some research afterwards and, realized that that actually happened. So that was interesting. So you follow a girl who, her and her brother are removed. And it's actually a really good thing because her mother was extremely abusive. You talk about book villains. Her mother was one of the worst characters I've ever read about. Just really, really, really bad. And so, her getting out was actually a blessing. And they go and live with this woman in the countryside. Our main character has a clubbed foot, which is one of the reasons she is abused so much. She's definitely treated as less than a person by her mother. And she gets the absolute opposite treatment from this woman that they end up moving in with. And it's a single woman. She doesn't have a husband, doesn't have a job. So, she also finds herself kind of craving that companionship that the children are now giving her. And it was really, really good, you guys. I read it really quickly. It's not a super long book, but man, it really packed a punch. And a lot happened in a short book. And Kaylin is now excited to read it as well. So I'm glad that I purchased that book because Kaylin wants to read it too. And I really hope that she does soon. But yeah, that one is a really, really great book. And I do give it 5 stars. I haven't stamped my stars yet. I realized afterwards I forgot to do that. So I'm going to stamp them up here on top, but definitely a 5-star read. And I definitely want to read more from that author as well. She has a few more middle grade books out too. So including a sequel to this one. So I'll definitely pick that up at some point. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I'll definitely read it. So it was very good. And I highly, highly recommend that one. Okay, the next one is a reread for me. I read Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls, and this is one that I read in school when I was in 5th grade, and I remember reading it. We read it as a class, and then we watched the movie, and I cried in both of those because dogs and, dogs. So, but this follows a young boy who grows up in the Ozarks in the mountains. And that's a hard life, guys. Their environment was not very good to them. And all he ever wanted was to have 2 hunting dogs to help him hunt. And he ends up saving up his money and he gets 2 dogs and he raises them and they, form obviously this very special bond. And you kind of see some of the things that they go through together, including, weather and people and, just some things. I don't want to give anything away, but very, difficult situations, and they help each other through it between him and the dogs. So, as can be expected, things happen at the end, and I didn't cry this time. I kept myself together because I knew the ending already, but I still enjoyed it so, so much, and the audiobook was great. I did listen to that one on audio as well. And pardon my pause, I was watching Game of Thrones as I was doing these layouts. So I paused quite a bit. You have no idea how much I had to edit out just because I was pausing and watching. So yeah. Okay, my next one is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. And oh my gosh, I loved this book. This was also made into a movie. And I haven't watched the movie yet, but I do plan to at some point. And this one follows a young boy named Augie. He is in 5th grade and he has always been homeschooled. But beginning of 5th grade, his family makes the decision to send him to a public school and he's ready to go. And he has been homeschooled because he has a condition where he does not look like other people. He develops differently and it causes his face to look, I don't want to say not normal, but not normal. It doesn't grow the same way that other kids' faces grow. And a lot of people can't handle that, including adults. So you see him transitioning into a school environment after being homeschooled for so long. And he has a lot of trials and tribulations with that. But I absolutely loved it. And I love the character development in this book. And it was absolutely wonderful. Definitely a 5-star read. Okay, and the next one here is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. And this is a wonderful little fantasy book. And it follows a village where they have a belief system that every year a baby has to be sacrificed to a witch that lives out in the woods in order for the witch to not attack their village and kill everybody in it. There's never been any proof that this would happen, but it's something that has just been taught to everybody over the years, and it's just instilled in them, and they firmly believe that there has to be a yearly sacrifice of whoever the youngest child in the village is. Has to be sacrificed to the witch. So one year, this girl is sacrificed and she's taken out into the woods and left for the witch. The witch picks the baby up because she's realizing there's a pattern that every year this village leaves a baby in the woods. And what is she supposed to do with them? She takes them and she takes them to another village where they are cared for. But it's not something that, like she never required anything, or like this is not a thing. So she's confused as to why they keep leaving babies. And one night when this new baby here is sacrificed, she ends up, instead of giving her food from the stars, she gives her food from the moon, which is actually incredibly powerful and gives her magic that is hard to for her to handle. So it was very, very, very good. I gave it 5 stars. Another favorite read of the year so far. I absolutely love that book. It was fantastic. Okay, so the next one is Ghost by Jason Reynolds, and this is also a middle grade book. And this one follows a young boy, and he is a very, very fast runner, and he learns that he has this skill, and he ends up trying out for and making it onto a track team. He is also in a position where he's struggling in school. He's struggling to control his behavior. He's getting in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have a strong father figure. He had some real big issues with his dad. And he ends up finding a lot of solace in this track team and finding a father figure in his new coach. So it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. It was good. I really like Jason Reynolds' writing. So I enjoyed that one. Okay, and the next one here is A Mother's Reckoning, and this is by Sue Klebold. This is one of the harder books I've read this year. It was hard to read. It was hard to swallow. So Sue Klebold is the mother of Dylan Klebold, who was one of the Columbine shooters in 1999, when him and his friend went into the Columbine High School and shot and killed some of their classmates and a teacher. And that it was kind of the first big publicly televised school shooting of our time. And yeah, so she is the mother of one of them, and it's her perspective on, dealing with the fact that her son did this. When you're a mother, you don't think your child will ever do anything like that, ever, commit this kind of evil. And what she had to go through, and just the immediate aftermath, and his last words to her, the day that he left for school that day, and all that. So it was incredibly, incredibly interesting, for sure. It was also really hard, like I said, to read. It was really hard to read because I don't know that I would have made any different decisions than she did, honestly. The way that she raised her son and things like that. There was a little bit of the blame game going on where she did kind of put more of the blame on the other boy. I think a lot of people do, but don't disregard your son. She didn't excuse anything ever. Like, it wasn't anything like that, but it was kind of more, putting more of the blame on the other boy. But yeah, so I gave it 4.5 stars. It was definitely interesting. So yeah, but definitely a harder read for me. Okay, and here is the overall look of what I read in the month of March. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really like the way that this album is coming together. And I know that I'm going to love looking back on what I read this year and seeing all my notes and my star ratings and, using up some of these die cuts. Let's be real, because I have a lot of them. Um, but yeah, so March was a really great reading month, and April is going to be another big one too. I think April is the most I've read in a month so far this year. So April's going to be a long one. So get ready for that one. It's going to be coming up soon. But all right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.